Good evening, everyone. I would like to know if there are any international students with. A very good evening to you all. I am Rushika Antayah, student of Chemical Engineering, and I'm currently in year 1. I'm also the Assistant Public Relations Officer of the Chemical Engineering Society, and I will be your host for today. I welcome you all to this webinar on occupational health and safety awareness for engineering students. The following components will be discussed in this webinar: objectives of the awareness for engineering students, history of health and safety, legal aspect for occupational health and safety in Mauritius, regulations of OSHA, the importance of safety committee in the workplace, performing risk assessment, adoption of permit to work in your workplace. I will now leave the floor to Varuna Gokul, who is the president of the DASED Society.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Varuna Gokul from year 3 of DASED under the Faculty of Engineering, currently doing my final year for BSc Fashion Technology Minor Entrepreneurship. And I was asked to introduce DASED Society, since DASED abbreviation is Department of Applied Sustainability and Enterprise Development. Our vision is to create and innovate towards a sustainable future, and our mission is to learn and explore new ways of creating sustainable materials that have the potential value in the market. I will now leave the floor to Yasheel. Thank you.
Thank you, Varuna.
Yes,
I will now leave the floor to Yasheel over FACREP.
Yes. Thank you very much. Do we actually have international students?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll continue in English then. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us today for this webinar. Actually, we have a lot of participants, and this is always encouraging, really encouraging. And you know, well, my vision was always to bring the students together, like to build up our chemistry. And this is what we've been doing with several executives of the different societies that we have, to build a strong core so that we can work together for bigger projects, actually. One of the others was to bridge the gap between the academia and the students. Well, maybe visibly you're not seeing it, but we are actually doing it. And next was to bridge the gap between the industry and the students, and this phase we are currently in it. So we have today Yogeenee, who is a trainer at Metro Express Limited. And you know, guys, well, I am currently on internship there, and I wanted to share with you a little bit of all the resources that are available to me. So when I joined, one thing that is really important there is safety. And actually, safety, and it is the responsibility of engineers to ensure a safe workplace for the workers. Okay, and things about like OSHA is something that we use every day, actually. So it has an importance of it every day. And well, I will let Yogeenee to talk more about this. And well, we'll also be organizing side this. Actually, we are in the procedure of organizing it, and this will also be done with the collaboration of the FOE societies, because we do need a really good coordination. So we are working on both sides, from the lecturers, from the academia, from the head of departments, and also from the concerned people at Metro Express, to be able to bring this project forward. And well, I'm sure that you will really like it. We're doing our best so that I can offer you a little bit of my everyday life, actually. And you will we'll also have another webinar from Yogeenee. I'm sure that I hope that you like her explanation today and the knowledge that she will be sharing with you. And you will also meet her when, if ever, this side visit project gets its approval. So that's all for me. And Thank you. I will leave the floor to you, Rushika.
Thank you, Yasheel. I will now have the pleasure to introduce you to Mrs. Yogeenee Chokupermal, who is a trainer at IMechE Express Limited, as Yasheel mentioned. She has a degree in chemical and environmental engineering, diploma in textile engineering, MBA, certificate in Six Sigma and quality management. She has exposure in the banking sector, sugar industry, textile industry, and railway industry sector. I will now give the floor to Mrs. Yogeenee.
Thank you, guys. So I welcome you to this session. Okay, so I indeed hope that you will like it. Okay, so now I'll share the screen with you.
Mrs. Yogeenee,
Is it okay?
Maybe you can pull your webcam a little bit down because we are seeing only the top of your face.
Okay. Is it okay here?
Yes, now better.
It's okay. Okay. So, like Rushika mentioned, so the agenda will be a little bit of the history. Okay. Why we have adopted occupational health and safety in organization. Okay. And we are going to look at the legal aspect that we have in Mauritius that we call OSHA. Okay. We have got also some regulation of OSHA that need to be adopted in organization. The purpose of having a safety committee in organization, the step in performing a risk assessment, and also the concept of having permit to work in your workplace. Okay. So the concept of occupational health and safety. So where does it come, guys? Okay. All organizations, in fact, they have got the duty to protect their employees from work-related accident and disease. Therefore, the concept of adopting occupational health and safety, it is a legal obligation in many countries. In Mauritius, we have got OSHA 2013. Okay, that has just been updated in 2013. Now, how comes this? Why countries have adopted this concept? Okay, so the first legislation, it was done in the 19th century. Okay, it was mainly because we were having the cotton mills. Okay, so there people they see that there are lots of accidents, and then we have come with the mining sector. Okay, whereby there has got lot of risk, lot of hazard. So this is where the first legislation has come. Okay. Now, if you have a look a little bit at the statistic, okay, if you refer to the International Labour Organizations, you will see that we have around 2.5 million deaths per year due to work-related accident or disease, okay? And we have got around 374 million work-related injuries and disease per year. Okay, so you see, it is very important to have that safety and occupational health at work. Now, another concept that we have, so if we have got safety management, it is also important to have quality management. Okay, so as part of international standard for safety, we have got ISO 45001. Okay, so this is a set of requirements for occupational health and safety management system. It can be applicable to any size of organizations. Okay. Normally, what does this ISO provide us? This ISO, in fact, it provides us with a framework for managing risk and opportunities in the workplace. Okay, in fact, it has got 10 clauses, but we have got 4 important clauses in that ISO. So we have got the context of the organizations, meaning the size of the organizations, the mission of that organizations, in what in fact this organization does, if it is a railway industry, if it is a sugar industry, if it is a textile industry. We talk also about the leadership. Okay, to be able to adopt ISO 45001, we need to have leadership. We need to have a good planning. We need to have support of all departments. We need to have a good operation and maintenance system. And of course, we need to have performance evaluations and improvement. So in order to adopt ISO 45001, we need to go like we have the PDCA cycle. I don't know if you have got module like quality management in your final year, but I'm damn sure that chemical engineer normally they do have modules of quality management. Okay, I think it is in the 4th year or the 3rd year they have it. So basically, if you want to adopt any ISO system, okay, and here particularly we are talking about ISO 45001, which is mostly based on occupational health and safety. So you need to follow the PDCA cycle. And I'm damn sure that you know who invented the PDCA cycle. Okay, so it is William Dennings. Okay, so one of our quality guru. Now, if you are going to read OSHA, okay, for Mauritius, you are going to look that on each line of that legal act, we are going to have so far as is reasonably practicable or as low as reasonably practicable. Okay, so this is in the context of safety. We try to summarize it as the SOP or the ALOP. Okay, so what does it mean? Because if you're going to read that act, you're going to come across this word. Okay, so these two terms, they are the same things. Okay, but SOPs normally we use it mostly in health and safety act and regulations. Okay, while ALOP we can use it when we are doing a risk assessment or we are doing a documentations. Okay, so what does these two things mean? It means that we are weighing a risk against the trouble, the time, and money that is needed to control it. Okay. Now, I have tried to summarize some of the part of the OSHA because there are parts that is very particular for engineers to know. Okay, so if you look at the concept, so if you look at the objective of OSHA, okay, so like I said to you, we have got the SOP here. It is to ensure the safety, health, and welfare of all the employees. Okay, so employer, that is your manager, your chief, your head of operation, your CEO, he should be as far as practicable, in particular to provide and maintain a good working environment for the employees. He should provide and maintain any plant or system of work. Okay, he should ensure that use, handling, storage, transportations of chemicals, of articles, of substances is safe and without risk to health. Okay, he should be able to provide and maintain adequate facilities for the welfare of employees at their workplace, and also provide employees with training, with awareness in order to inculcate what we call the safety culture. Okay, and he should also make sure that his employees is not exposed to any type of risk. Now, if you look at section 7 of OSHA, it is stated that if you have got an industry or a factory that is being generated by machinery installed at any workplace that exceeds 750 kilowatt, the employee shall employ a registered professional engineer. So guys, you can see that where you can have the job. Okay, if you're a registered professional engineer, of course you can apply for this post. Okay, so here we need registered engineer to ensure that these machineries, okay, they are in good state. Okay, because that engineer is going to have a checklist and he's going to verify it every 6 months for a yearly inspections. Okay, it can be every 6 months or it can be yearly as well. Okay. Now, as per section 30, okay, it is also stated now when do we have a safety officer in an organization? If we have got an organization that have got around 100 or more employees, okay, we can employ a safety officer on a part-time or a full-time basis. But now, if you have got a bigger organizations of more than 500 people, then we need to have a safety officer on a full-time basis. Okay. Now, if you look at part 4 of OSHA, okay, it is mainly based for the welfare and the health of employees. Okay. For instance, you have got the structure of the building. Cleanliness. You cannot accommodate to work in an environment that is not being sanitized, that is not being clean. Overcrowding, section 36. Okay, for instance, you have got an office which has got a small surface area, and you are having around 6 to 7 person working in that office. Okay, so your employee do not have the right to overcrowd that space. Okay. Section 37, you talk about ventilation and temperatures. This is most basically for a store. Okay, for instance, you have got a store, it should have got the proper ventilation, it should be having the ambient temperature. Okay, then we have got section 38, which is lighting. Okay, lighting, for instance, you have got a building, okay, it has got a large pane window. Now you are having a lot of sunlight entering in that office. You cannot work, okay, or you're working at night, okay, you don't have sufficient lighting to work. So all these things, it should be conforming by the employer. Okay, then you have got section 39 that talk about sanitary convenience. Sanitary convenience is mostly for ladies. So these are things that should be provided by the employee whenever they know that they have got at least one lady working in the company. Okay, you have got section 40 that talk about the supply of drinking water. Okay, so most companies, they can be having some filters that they have installed. Okay, so even the quality of water that is being provided to employees is important, because an employee, he can request for a test of that water that he is drinking. Okay, if he sees that there is some issue with the water that he is drinking, he can ask for a test. Okay, so I think chemical engineer will know that we can do a TSS test for the water. We have got a lot of tests that we can do apart from that. Washing facilities. For instance, you are working in a chemical plant, you are working in a sugar industry, you are working in a textile plant. Of course, we need to have washing facilities in case that you have got dyes that has been splashed in eyes, etc. So we need to have the washing facilities in those areas. Section 42, we talk about accommodation for clothing. This is mainly for shift workers. Okay, shift workers, they need to have a small wardrobes for them, or a cabinet, okay, for them to keep their clothes. Section 43, talk about the seats. Okay, so it is very important for office worker, okay, to have a good seat. Okay, this is what we talk about ergonomics. Okay, ergonomic seats, etc. Okay, then you have got section 44. Okay, this is facilities for taking meals. So we need to have a mess. We need to have all the equipment over there. And section 45, it talk about provisions for first aid. Okay, if you have got an organization, basically you need to have trained people, okay, in the first aid in the first aid field. Okay, so this is an organization that should be providing to people, and also we need also to have first aid kit in the building. Okay, now if we look at part 5, okay, it talk a little bit of safety of machineries. You can hear me? Is it okay?
Yes.
It's okay. Okay. Yeah, so part 5, we are going to talk about safety of machineries. Okay, So if you look at section 50 of OSHA, every chain, rope, or lifting tackle in use, it shall be examined by a competent person. Okay, it should be a registered person. Okay, at least once every 12 months. Okay. It has also been mentioned that lifting machine should not exceed the safe working load. That's why it's very important, okay, to have at least that safe load affixed next to the crane. Okay. And of course, it should be tested by a competent person. Okay. A register containing a record of examination shall be kept by the employee in respect of all chain, ropes, or lifting tackles. Now, why do we need to do all these things? Okay. Firstly, it is for the safety of the employees. And secondly, it is also that whenever you have got such types of machineries, all these machineries, they need to be registered by the Ministry of Labor. And very often you have got visits of their safety officer who come and look for that register to see if it is conforming by the law or not. Okay. Then, if you look at sections 51, again, it is about the crane itself. Okay, so here also it should be examined at least every 12 months. Okay, it should be of good construction, sound material. Okay, so all these things should be well maintained if we are using these movable cranes. So now we are going to look at lifting machine as per section 53. So this one I have summarized it very well. So for lifting machines, things that you should not be doing. Okay, you cannot operate a lifting machine that do not have a certificate of examinations. Okay. The lifting machine, it should not exceed the safe working loads of the machine and the accessories. We cannot use accessories. When I'm talking about accessories, I'm talking about the chain, etc. Okay, that have got defects. You cannot carry people on a crane. Okay, whenever there is a work in that area where you have got a crane, you should debarcade that area. Okay, people should not be working in that area. Okay, and of course, we cannot use guardrails, scaffolding, or any other equipment as anchor points. Okay, these are things that you should not be doing when you are using a lifting machines. Now, things that you can do, for instance, you need to have a competent person who is going to operate that lifting machine. You need to have the yearly examination of the lifting machine. If you are working with the lifting machine, as I said earlier, you need to debarcade that area. In case you need somebody to help you for signaling, so you need to ask for a helper. Okay. And most of the time, if you have got any electrical wires, you need to keep a safety clearance during the movement of the crane. Then there is section 55 and 59. So as I was told earlier, so I think that there are many chemical students who have joined in. So if you're working in textile or you're working in power plant or in sugar industry, you're going to come across with all steam boilers. Okay, so you need to know that steam boiler is mentioned very well in the OSHA. Okay, so a steam boiler, basically they need to have a registration number affixed on it. Each part of the steam boiler, it should conform with specifications of the MSB, Mauritius Standard Bureau. Okay, and also a steam boiler, basically it should not be used at a pressure higher than the maximum permissible working pressure. Okay, so as a safety measures that can be used, we need to have a safety valve that is capable of being isolated by any stop valve. Okay, so this is going to prevent you from working the boiler at a pressure greater than the maximum permissible pressure. And of course, inspections of the boiler, it should be done every 24 months by a registered boiler inspector. Okay. Now, again, legal aspect, if you refer to Section 69, Section 82, Section 83, it is mainly dealt with hot work. When I talk about hot work, I talk about some work such as welding, okay, where you're going to have it, for instance, if you have got the mechanical, mechatronics engineer, so if you will be working in workshop, so you're going to have these types of work, okay. So this work is not permitted to do without a permit to work. Okay, so this is what I'm going to explain to you at the end. Okay, of course, if you're doing any types of hot work, it should be done. You should debarcade the area first. You remove all inflammable material in that sections. And of course, you need to have all your welding equipment in good conditions. And of course, you need to have also a fire extinguisher near the place of work. Okay, so general PPE, when you are undertaking this type of work, for instance, welding, you need to have your welding helmet, long sleeve clothing, welding aprons, and leather spats. Okay. Now, if we refer to Section 69 and 68, it is mainly dealt with chemical storage. So this is for our friends who are from the chemical engineering. Of course, if you are handling chemicals in a store of chemical, you cannot do it without a permit to work, okay? All chemicals in a store, it should have their MSDS, okay? So this is material safety data sheet, okay? Why we need to have that MSDS? So as we are not going to mix up chemicals, okay, because you have got chemicals that are flammable, chemicals that are corrosive, okay. In the OSHA, you have got a list of chemicals that cannot be mixed together, okay. You can refer to it. And also, we should not encourage the transfer of chemical to another container without labeling, okay. So if anyone of you is going for an internship in a chemical store, so you need to ensure that all chemicals containers are well labeled. They have got all stickers of safety, okay, whether it is flammable, it should not be mixed with other chemical, okay. And basically, a chemical store, it should only be accessible to authorized persons, okay. So whenever you are accessing a chemical store, it is very important that you wear your protective clothes, face shield, protective clothing, safety goggles, and respiratory mask. Okay, these are some of the precautions, some of the PPE as per the regulations of PPE that you should be wearing whenever you are accessing chemical stores. Now, if you look at some regulations, okay, apart from the OSHA, we have got some regulations. Now, one of the regulations that we have, it is work at height, okay? Basically, a ladder, it cannot be used for a long period of time, okay? So a ladder, normally you use it for a short period of time, okay? So basically, when you're using a ladder, you need to have a work permit, okay? You need to ensure that the ladder is as per the work at height regulation. It is securely footed, okay? And once you have used the ladder, it should be placed in the laid positions, okay? Another regulation that we have, it is on the scaffold, okay? So for civil engineer, okay, so whenever you are using a scaffold, you should be having a work permit, okay? The scaffold, it should be erected and used by competent persons. Of course, these persons who are using the scaffold, they should be wearing all their appropriate protective equipment. And of course, at the end, we need to have a scaff tag that is always displayed. Okay, scaff tag, normally, this is going to give you the conditions. Okay, you can see a small example of scaffold tag. So it's going to give you a review of the status of that scaffold, okay, whether it is in good conditions to use or not, okay. Now we have got another regulations, which is for PPE, okay, PPE. So this one, it is for PPE for work at height. For instance, somebody is working, is doing some work at height. So this person, he should be well equipped. Okay, for instance, he should have his hard hats, his chin strap, safety harness, double lanyards, shock absorbers. So this person, he should have all these PPE whenever he is undertaking the work at height job. Okay. Now let's have a look at the safety and health committee. Okay. Basically, an organization that has got around 50 or more employees, it is then that he shall establish a safety and health committee. Okay. Now, what is the purpose of a safety and health committee? Is it so important? Yes, indeed, it is important for you guys. Okay. So let us look what this committee consists of. This committee consists of a chairperson. That chairperson, it is going to be either your head of operation or maintenance. It can be your manager, okay? And then you have got the vice person. The vice person, it is the employees, okay? It can be you. You are working there as technicians, as senior technicians, so you are appointed as a vice person. Of course, this committee, these persons normally they are selected as per a voting. Okay, so you need to have your friends, okay, who are from the employee sides and from the management side who vote, okay, who is going to be the vice persons. Okay, so the vice person, it is from the employees side. Okay, then you have got the secretary. The secretary, it is that person who is going to take the minutes of meeting. Okay, and he is going to be the registered safety and health officer, because this committee, in fact, it is a legal committee. Okay, before doing this committee, you need to send a letter to the Ministry of Labor 10 days before, stating that you are going to do this safety committee on this date, at this time, at this locations. Okay, and once you have done the committee, of course, you are going to have the minutes. The minutes need to be signed by the chairperson, who is the employer, and also need to be signed by the vice chairperson, who is the employee. Okay. Now, for instance, you can have four members from management side and four members from employees side for a size of organization that has got around 50 to 100 persons. And if you have got a bigger organization, then you need to have 8 members from each side, from the management side, 8 members, and 8 members from the employee side. Okay. Now the chairperson, he is going to decide. Okay. So each one of them, so employee side is going to pull the string from one side, and you are going to have a management side who is going to pull on the other side. So it is a chairperson who needs to decide, okay, what can be done to improve the health and safety of the employees. Okay, so the functions, like you can see from the slide, it is to promote cooperation between the employee and the employees in achieving and maintaining safe and healthy working conditions, to provide a forums for employees and manager to work together. Okay, and also to increase awareness of health and safety issues. So any issue, for instance, you are having an issue in your PPE, you are not having safety shoes, the safety shoes that is being given to you is not of good quality. Okay, so these things you can take it to the safety and health committee. For instance, the waters that you are drinking, you see that the quality is not of good quality, you want to send it for testing. So this also you can raise it in the safety and health committee. Okay, so many things can be raised in safety and health committee, and these things they need to be taken into considerations. Like I said earlier, this is a legal committee that is being reviewed by the Ministry of Labor. Okay, this meeting in fact is being done every 2 months. Okay, and normally all organizations that have got more than 50 employees, they need to do it. Okay, now we are going to look a little bit at risk assessment. Okay, so I know many of you, maybe you are from year 1, but if you will be going for internship, etc., so this will be an opportunity for you to identify hazard, to identify risk, okay, to evaluate what are the controls that you can put in place, okay. This is very important. When you are going to start working, you are going to see that risk assessment is one of the major things that engineers need to know, okay. So let's have a look. In fact, risk assessment is mentioned in OSHA, okay. So it is mentioned in section 10 and section 11, okay. So risk assessment by the employee and record of the risk assessment, okay. So everything that you do, like I said to you, safety management and quality management, they work together, okay. We need to have records, register of each and everything that we are going to do, okay. So let's have a look. Firstly, when you're doing a risk assessment, you need to understand what is a hazard, okay? So a hazard, it can be a source or a situation that can cause harm. For instance, you have got some water splash on the floor, okay? You have got some chemicals, you have got work at height, you have got hot work, okay? So this is the hazard, okay? You need to be able to identify the hazard first when you want to start a risk assessment, okay? Then the risk, okay? The risk, in fact, this is being calculated, okay? So I'm going to show you a table whereby you can calculate the risk, okay? So the risk, in fact, it is a combination of likelihood, like we talk, the chance or the probability of a specified event, and the severity of the outcome. Okay, so from that table, you are going to see that risk is being calculated by probability multiplying by severity. Then we are going to know the outcome of that risk. Okay. After risk, we have got risk control. With risk control, in fact, these are precautions. Okay, for instance, you have got guards on a dangerous part of machineries. You have got the sprinkler system in the buildings, okay, in case you have got the fire, etc. You have got a safe system of working. For instance, you have got working work instructions, okay, for any works that you need to undergo. You have got the work instructions, so you can use the work instructions. You will know what are the safety aspects that you need to consider, what are the steps to start the work, okay. Also, you have got the use of PPE, okay, safety signage. These are risk control, okay. So now let us look at the step for conducting a risk assessment. Okay, the first things that you need to do when you're conducting a risk assessment, you need to identify the hazards. Okay, what is the hazards? Okay, you have got splash chemicals on the floor, you have got water on the floor, so this is a hazards. Okay, identify who and what is at risk. Okay, who is at risk? So that person who is working, he may felt on that water. Okay, so he is at risk. Now we are going to evaluate that significant risk. Like I said to you, the evaluation of risk, this is being calculated. Okay, and then you decide on the further risk control. Now, once you have done this, it doesn't stop here. You need to review it again. Okay, so once you review, you see again now if you have got, if you don't have any other hazard associated with. Okay, so let's try to look at an example. Okay, a simple example. Okay, so here if you see what is a hazard, it is a crocodile. I hope everyone agree with me. Okay. So that person, he is identifying that risk. Okay, so what is he doing? He's doing his inspection, he's doing his job safety check, he's doing an audit. Okay, so he's checking here. Okay, he's identifying the risk. Now he's going to evaluate that risk. Okay, so evaluation of that risk is very important. Okay. So let us see how we can evaluate the risk. Okay, like I said to you earlier, risk, in fact, it is calculated by the probability multiplied by the severity. Okay, for instance, that guy with that crocodile, Okay, he if you need to look at the small table that is in red and yellow. Okay, so if that guy he finds that the severity that when the crocodile is going to eat him, okay, it's going to be fatal injury. It is 4. Okay, now the probability that that crocodile is going to eat him is very likely. Again, it is 4. So now to calculate that risk, you need to take 4 multiplied by 4, you are going to get 16. So now you can see that this is of high risk. Okay, so it is just like the matrix that you need to calculate it. Okay. Of course, once you have identified the risk, guys, you need to look at the control because that guy, he cannot let the crocodile to eat him. Okay. He has got the hierarchy of controls. Okay. So start with the elimination method, substitution methods, engineering controls, administrative control, use of PPE. So let us try to see what he does. Okay. So firstly, we'll try to eliminate that risk. Okay. Okay, we cannot eliminate that risk. We need that crocodile. For instance, you have got a pump in a room. You need that pump, so you cannot remove that pump. So you cannot. The risk it is that pump because it is making a lot of noise. Okay, so you cannot eliminate that pump. So what you do? You try to look for a substitution. Okay, a substitution. So you will try to look for something else to replace that pump. Again, you see that this is not working. Now, what you do? You try to isolate. So that man he has tried to put the animal in a cage, but in the case of the pump, you will try to isolate the pump. But the risk is here. Okay, it will start to heat up, so this can cause fire. Okay, so you say for the pump, for instance, you cannot isolate it. Then you look for engineering control. Okay, you look for engineering control. You say no. Okay, I'm going to put some control here, okay, so as people don't have these effects of noise. Okay, if that also doesn't work, then you come with administrative control. Administrative control, it can be a signage, or it can be, for the case of the pump, you can make use of shift working. Okay, that is you make somebody work 2 hours, and then after 2 hours he get out, somebody else come for 2 hours because of that noise problem. Okay, and then the last one, if that also doesn't work, the last one, it is the use of personal protective equipment. Okay, so this is what the person has done here. Okay, and in the case of the pump, what you are going to do, you are going to wear an earmuff. Okay, so this is an example, okay, a format of how you can do your risk assessment. Okay, so I'm giving you an example. Okay, so this is at Metro Express basically. Okay, so for instance, we have done a risk assessment in the workshop. Okay, so we have seen who are the targeted workforce. For instance, you have got all male staff, you have got contractors, visitors. Okay, basically the assessor, it cannot be only one person. Of course, you need to have technicians, you need to have safety representative, you need to have safety peoples who are there, okay, to assess the situations. Now, what we have done, we have identified the risk. Okay, so we have identified firstly the hazard. The hazard was the overhead crane. The risk, it was risk of head and other bodily injuries due to falling objects. Okay, existing control. First things that we have done an inductions on the wearing of PPE. And we have also done provisions for hard hat. Okay, when we have calculated the severity and the likelihood, we have seen that severity is serious if something falls on the head of an employee. Okay, and likelihood, it is possible. So risk level, when we have calculated, when we have multiplied severity with likelihood, we have seen that it come in mediums. Okay, so then we have come with actions. Now, what are the actions that we have said to put? We said that we are going to put signage for wearing of hard caps. signage for unauthorized persons do not have access, we are going to debarcade the area. Okay, we are going to ask PIC not to operate overhead crane when persons are working in that area. Okay, so also yearly examinations, etc. Okay, so then we see who is the action owner. Okay, whether it is this section or the other sections, we give them a deadline, and then after the deadline, what you do, you look at, you estimate that if you're going to put that action, is it going to be severe as when there was no risk control? So you will see that indeed you are going to have a minor severity in terms of likelihood. So if you are going to put all this control, it is going to become unlikely. Then when you are going to multiply the residual severity and the likelihood, you are going to see that the residual risk level, it has become low. Okay, so this is an example of risk assessment that you can use in the future. And then the last slide talk about permit to work. Okay, so what is permit to work, guys? Okay, permit to work is just a piece of paper. Okay, it's a piece of paper that holds the life of somebody who is working in a control area. Okay, when I talk about a control area, it is an area, in fact, whereby you need to implement health and safety because it consists of a lot of engineering work, of dangerous work. Okay, so that permit to work, in fact, it is going to give authorizations to people to carry out specific work within specific time frames. Okay, and also with the permit to work, these persons, they will know what are the safety precautions that they need to take whenever they are undertaking these works. Okay, because along with the permit to work, we need to have a risk assessment that is being done. Now, who do the permit to work? Who give authorizations to the permit to work? Okay, basically, permit to work, this is being filled by a PIC. A PIC, he is a person in charge. Okay, now who is a person in charge? A person in charge, this is somebody, it can be an engineer, it can be a senior technician. Okay, so it can be a manager. Okay, he's going to be the PIC. So the PIC, he's going to have that experience. Okay, he need to have experience in the field. He need to be knowledgeable in the fields of work that he's going to undertake. He needs to have leadership capacity because to undertake a work, normally it's not only one person who is going to do the work. It can be 2 or 3 persons. And of course, he needs to know exactly in case there is any incident or accident, what are the next steps that he needs to take. Okay, so this is what we call leadership. Okay. And then the authorization, in fact, this is given by a competent party. Okay, for instance, you have got a supervisor, or you have got, for instance, at Metro Express, the one who give authorization for permit to work is our OCC controller. Okay, so because they are competent in giving that authorization. So again, for authorization, it should be given by a competent party. Okay, now once this permit to work, it also gives you a control. Okay, when you're going to start the job, when you're going to finish that job. Okay, so as another job can take place. Okay, so I think this is the last slide, guys. So I hope you have liked it.
Thank you, Mrs. Yogeenee. We will now take some questions.
Okay.
You can ask your questions in the chat box. Okay, we have a first question. What are some of the responsibilities normal employers have related to OSHA record keeping?
So what does some other normal employees have? Basically, for normal employees, they do not have any records. Okay, if you have got any incident or you have got any accident, it is a health and safety officer who is going to have that register. Okay, so normal employees, if you are not a registered health and safety officer, you don't need to keep the records. Okay, it is a health and safety officer who is going to keep the records. All records in case of health and safety, it is health and safety officer who keep it. So I hope it's clear the question.
Okay, we have a second question. Does injury, illness, or death occurred under a workplace impose cost upon the employer?
Yes, indeed. If you are at a workplace, then it do have it. Okay, because you have got sections in the OSHA that I have not mentioned here because it would have been too long. Okay, that in case you have got any injury or illness or death that has happened in the workplace, then this should be undertaken by the employee. Okay, but now if you're outside the workplace, okay, you are returning homes or whatever, then it doesn't count. Okay.
Yes, a third question. Who is a registered boiler inspector? Is he or she a registered engineer?
It can be. I think it's a chemical engineer who asks this question. So it can be a registered engineer. Okay. So it can be a registered engineer. And when I was talking about registered engineers for whereby you have got electrical appliances more than 750 kilowatt, it can be any registered engineer. It can be either a chemical engineer or a mechanical engineer or electrical engineer. But you should be registered to be able to do this. Okay? So if you have got any more questions, guys, do not hesitate.
Yes, I do have one, if I may, Isha.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for the second question, Mrs. Yogeenee, you told us that if an injury occurs under a workplace, then it imposes cost upon the employer. But what if the person who is injured was not wearing his or her PPE?
Yeah, that is another issue. Good question, Yasheel. In fact, whenever you have such things, you have got an investigation that is being done. Okay. Now that investigation is being done by the safety officer. He's going to see if at that time you were indeed complying. Okay. Because we have got cases whereby people they have slipped. Okay. There was injuries, but these persons, they were not wearing their safety shoes at that specific place, and that place, in fact, they do not have the right to cross. Okay, so there they have not been given anything. Okay, even in terms of their sick, etc. So the company said that when they have done investigations, they have seen that he was at fault. Okay, so that's a very good question. Okay, it's not just like okay, we have got an injury, we have got an illness. Okay, so we can impose it. We have got a very big investigation that is behind. Okay, so then it is after that that a decision is being taken. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We have another question. If a company expands from a SME to 50 plus employees, where can HR be guided so the company becomes an OSHA certified one?
Well, for it to become an OSHA, if it is more than 50 employees, he can employ a safety officer, okay, who is not full time, okay, part-time safety officer. He can employ it because a part-time safety officer normally they can work at 3 or 4 places. Okay, now if he want to become OSHA certified one, basically then he need to apply for ISO 45001. Okay, if you want to go in that impact. Okay, so is that okay, guys?
Yes, I think that's all. Thank you again, Mrs. Yogeenee, for your
Thank you, guys.
time.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, and to be with us today to talk about a very important aspect of engineering, especially at the workplace. As engineers, it is of utmost importance that we take the necessary precautions while working.
Indeed, yes.
Yes. Thank you everyone for attending this webinar. On this note, we will now end this session. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, I'd also like to point out that we have the attendance sheet that is being circulated in the comment section. So do fill it to be eligible for the certificate of attendance, guys.
Okay, thank you all, guys, for giving me this opportunity. So in case we have got another webinar, we can still share with you. Okay?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for accepting to share your knowledge with us today.
Okay.
I'm sure that we'll have lots of events again together. So looking forward for the future collaboration.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Okay.
Also, maybe if you have 5 minutes, Mrs. Yogeenee, maybe you can talk about your career when you finish your chemical engineering degree, because we actually have a lot of chemical students.
Okay. Yeah, so well, I finished my chemical engineering in the 2013. Okay, then I have been in the sugar industry, okay, for 1 year. Okay, so I was at Fuel, now it has become Alteo. So I have got opportunity to work in the refinery, in the power plant, okay, so even in the water treatment plant, okay. So over there, I was around 1.5 years I have worked there, and it was indeed very enriching. Then I have got another prospect in the textile industry. Okay, so I have shifted in the Shell textile. Then I was in the Shell sugar industry, and then I shifted in Shell textile. So over there, I have worked as a planning coordinator. Okay, and then I've shifted as textile engineer. Okay, so textile engineer on all process from knitting to dyeing to finishing. Okay, all process. So I have been following all these process. And then I have got the opportunity to join Metro Express. Okay, so for 2 years I have been working as a technical officer. Okay, in the safety, security, risk, quality, and environment department that we have over there. And then I have shifted in the training department. Okay, whereby I'm mostly in the maintenance field. Okay, so chemical engineers, you will have respect, of course, like I was talking today with Yasheel. Whenever you have got a chemical engineer degree, you need to back up it. Okay, you can back up it with a diploma in health and safety. You can back up it with a quality management. Like myself, I have got a diploma in textile engineering. I have got an MBA. I have not stopped. I have gone further, okay, to look for Six Sigma. You can start it right now. Do not need to wait for it, okay? Chemical engineers, you can start your Six Sigma. You can start your quality management certificate if you have got some small courses that you have. So I encourage you guys, okay, you start it right now. And it is then after that you have finished your degree, you will see that you have got so many opportunities that are going to be open with you. Does it mean that we don't have any chemical plants, so you're not going to have any prospect? So I'm one of the chemical engineering. You have got many chemicals engineerings who are nowadays having posts of managers. Okay. So where I was working in Metro itself, I was talking there with Yasheel. So the manager of safety, he was a chemical engineer, like me, like you guys. So there are many chemical engineers who are having posts of chief operations, chief maintenance. There are even head of operation and maintenance guys. So you do have prospect. Like I said to you, you need to back up it. Okay. If you back up it, for sure you are going to have a lot of prospect in the future. Okay. So thank you guys. So I hope this is some motivating words for you. Okay, to look for additionals. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Okay. So it's okay. So I think I can leave you now.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. Bye.